Oh, we got another tight one. We got another tight one. Waiting for results from the finish line. Waiting for results. The winner in lane number 1, the 8 car, sponsored by Snyder & Sons Landscaping, driven by Mary Hirschberger. Okay, your next race in lane number 1 is a 71 car, sponsored by Coop's Buns, driven by 10-year-old Owen Cooper, a 5th grader at Bell Elementary. And in lane number 2 is a 15 car, sponsored by Fat Boys Pizza Shack, driven by 12-year-old Eli Moore, a 7th grader from Mount Savage. At the conclusion of the event, directly in front of the Elks will be the trophy presentation. The trophy presentation. We ask that you hang out and witness that amazing event. That's the trophy presentation immediately following the event, directly in front of the Elks. And here they come. This one's really tight. The winner in lane number 1 is a 71 car, sponsored by Coop's Bun, driven by 10-year-old Owen Cooper. Ma'am. Your next race in lane number 1 is 87, the car number 87, sponsored by Sand Spring Saloon and Steakhouse, driven by 11-year-old Cole Holliday, a 6th grader at Mount Savage School. And in lane number 2 is 10-year-old Waylon Way, driving the 30 car from Hunter Douglas, a 6th grader at Frankfort Middle School. Cars are on the way.
Told you I'd be back.
The winner in lead number 2, the number 30 car, sponsored by Hunter Douglas, driven by Waylon Way. Okay, your next race in lane number 1 is the number 21 car, sponsored by the West District Elks, driven by 9-year-old Hayden Camel, a 5th grader at the Hyman School of Hope. And in lane number 2 is 11-year-old Kyle Huff driving the 099 car sponsored by Schaefer Ford. As you were, the 099 car sponsored by the Masonic Mountain Lodge. Here they come. The winner in lane number 1, the 21 car, sponsored by the West District Elks, driven by Hayden Kemal. Okay, your next race in lane number 1 is the 00 car, sponsored by Hunter Douglas, driven by 12-year-old Emma Lidner, a 8th grader at Mount Savage. And in lane number 2 is the number 3 car, sponsored by Standard Bank, driven by 12-year-old Easton Matthews, a 7th grader at Mount Savage Middle. Thank you, sir. And they're off. The winner in lane number 1 is the 00 car, sponsored by Hunter Douglas, driven by Emma Lindner. Okay, your next race in lane number 1 is the 13 car, sponsored by Caden's Rentals, driven by 12-year-old Andrew Ketterman, a 7th grader at Mount Savage Middle School. And in lane number 2, the 25 car, sponsored by CBiz, driven by 11-year-old DJ McKenzie, a 6th grader at Northern Middle School. Cars are on the way. The winner in lane number 2 is the 25 car, sponsored by CBiz and driven by DJ McKenzie. Your next race in lane number 1 is the 98 car, sponsored by B&B Meat Country Meats, driven by 11-year-old Jordan Wingard, a 6th grader at Mount Savage School. And lane number 2 is the 20 car, sponsored by Hunter Douglas, driven by 13-year-old Laney Danewood, an 8th grader at Mount Savage School. Boy, we got one here. And the winner in lane number 1. The winner in lane number 1 is the 98 car, sponsored by B&B Country Meats, driven by 11-year-old Jordan Wingard. Your next race in lane number 1 is the 10 car, sponsored by Hunter Douglas, driven by Finian Stroop, a 12-year-old 9th grader of Royal Academy. And in lane number 2, the 4 car, sponsored by Music Express Disc Jockey Service and the Special Olympics, driven by 12-year-old Caleb Miller, a 7th grader at Bishop Walsh. Here they come. The winner in lane number 1, the 10 car, sponsored by Hunter Douglas, driven by Finian Stroop.
Hi, Joe. I didn't recognize you.
Next race in lane number 1 is the 18 car, sponsored by, Zen Cheese, the number 10, driven by 10-year-old Nathan Hockman, a 5th grader at Parkside School. And in lane number 2 is the 57 car, sponsored by Durst Funeral, driven by 10-year-old Reese Carter, a 5th grader at Bell Elementary. Once again, the race is being held up because some adults have decided to go onto the track. We ask that all adults, although the children seem to be doing well with it, the adults don't seem to be able to stay off the road. So please stay off the road so the races can continue. We got a photo finish here. Photo finish here. The winner in lane number 1 is 18, sponsored by and driven by 10-year-old Nathaniel Huckman. Your next race in lane number 1 is the 71 car, sponsored by Coops Buns, driven by 10-year-old Owen Cooper, a 5th grader at Bell Elementary. And in lane number 2, the 69 car, sponsored by Charlie's Motel, driven by 13-year-old Drew Hornabay, an 8th grader at Southern Middle School. Once again, we remind you, please use the trash receptacles at the conclusion of the event.
First, you're doing it, you know? Huh? Yeah, pretty much. Next year she'll have her own center. Yeah.
And they're off. I'll pick. The winner in lane number 2, the 69 car, sponsored by Charlie's Motel, driven by 13-year-old Drew Hornabay. Your next race in lane number 1, the 43 car, sponsored by Music Express Disc Jockey and Karaoke Service and the Bobby Preston Memorial Fund, driven by 9-year-old Braden Wetzel, a 5th grader at Bell Elementary. And in lane number 2, 10-year-old Waylon Canfield, driving the 30 car, sponsored by Hunter Douglas, a 6th grader at Frankfort Middle School. They're on the way. The winner in lane number 1, the 43 car, sponsored by Music Express Disc Jockey and Karaoke Service and the Bobby Preston Memorial Fund, driven by Braden Wetzel. Okay, your next race in lane number 1 is the 62 car, sponsored by Kirkwood and Rogers, driven by 10-year-old Lincoln McAllister, a 5th grader at Bell Elementary. And in lane number 2, the 21 car, sponsored by the West District Elks, driven by 9-year-old Hayden Camel, a 5th grader at Hope for Hyman. And they're on the way. The winner in lane number 2, the 21 car, sponsored by the West District Elks, driven by Hayden Kamal. Okay, their next race in lane number 1 is the number 5 car, sponsored by Jenkins Collision Centers, driven by 8-year-old Kason Waits, a 4th grader at Frankfurt Intermediate. And in lane number 2, the 00 car, sponsored by Hunter Douglas, driven by 12-year-old Emma Lindner, an 8th grader at Mount Savage. And they're off. And the winner in lane number 1, the number 5 car, sponsored by Jenkins Collision Center, driven by Kason Waits. Okay, your next race in lane number 1 is the 25 car, sponsored by C-Biz, driven by 11-year-old DJ McKenzie, a 6th grader at Northern. And in lane number 2 is the 61 car, sponsored by the Hen House Restaurant, driven by 11-year-old Jackson Hornabay, a 6th grader at Southern Middle. Once again, we're holding up the race because some adults have decided to cross the road. We ask that you please cross. Sir, I do not think you're famous. I think you look ridiculous. And apparently the audience agrees. Oh, another close one. This is really close. We will have to wait for the results.
That was close.
We will have to wait for the results. The winner in lane number 2, the 61 car, sponsored by the Head House, driven by Jackson Hornaby. Lane number 2. The last race was determined by 8/1000ths of a second.
Wow.
Your next race features the 911 car, sponsored by the Oakland Elks, driven by 13-year-old Morgan Emmerich, a 8th grader at the Hope for Hyman Charter School. And in lane number 2, the 98 car, sponsored by B&B Country Meats, driven by 11-year-old Jordan Wingard, a 6th grader at Mount Savage School. The CBiz car finished in the 20th place. 20th place.
Here he comes.
And they're off.
I don't know which Jordan. Oh man, he's in this one over here. Come on, Jordan! Come on, Jordan!
Oh, we might have another one of those photo finishes.
Oh, man.
The winner in lane number 1, the 911 car, sponsored by the Oakland Elks, driven by Morgan Emmerich. The 98 car, sponsored by B&B Country Meats, is in 19th place. Your next race features the number 10 car in lane number 1, sponsored by Hunter Douglas and driven by 12-year-old Finian Stoop, a 9th grader at Royal Academy. And in lane number 2, the 160 car, sponsored by Sowers Funeral Home, driven by 12-year-old Owen Kamoff, a 7th grader at the Hope for Hyman School. We have to once again remind you, please do not lean on or step on the bales of hay. have a photo finish. Is there a question on qualification?
It's good.
The winner in lane number 2, the 160 car, sponsored by Sowers Funeral Home, driven by Owen Kamal. The Hunter Douglas car finishes in 18th place. Your next race in lane number 1's the 18 car, sponsored by, driven by 10-year-old Nathaniel Hoffman, a 5th grader at Parkside School. And in lane number 2, the 113 car, sponsored by Connor and Fike, driven by 11-year-old Nicholas Viatek, a 6th grader at Mount Savage.
Yeah, it's bad. Oh yeah? Yeah? Oh yeah? Cool. No, I seen him early. Mine, the one I had is Australian, and he looks like pitch and laugh. Yeah. They're good dogs. Yeah. They're heel biters. Yeah. That's what they do. They bite the cow's heels and move them. Yeah, he is, but he's just nervous. He's a rescue.
And they're off. Do not get in the road, please. Even if your silly self has to run over to 7-Eleven. Oh, we got a really close one here at the hump. Ooh. The winner in lane number 1 is the 18 car, driven by 10-year-old Nathaniel Hoffman. Your next car race features the 88 car, sponsored by Kenny Signs Incorporated, driven by 11-year-old Brayley Lowe, a 6th grader at Mount Savage. And in lane number 2, the 11B car, sponsored by Giuseppe's Restaurant, driven by 9-year-old Cassidy Witt, a 5th grader at Westside Elementary. The Connor Flight car finishes in 17th place.
Always on the court.
And they're off. And the winner in lane number 1, the 88 car, sponsored by Kenny Signs Incorporated, driven by 11-year-old Brayley Lowe.
Is that a female? Is that a female? Oh, man.
Your next race in lane number 1 is a 77 car, sponsored by the Hurryback Tavern, driven by 11-year-old Leah Fullerton, 6th grader, Northern Middle School. And in lane number 2, the 40 car, sponsored by Benson Designs, driven by 12-year-old Mason Romesberg, a 7th grader at Braddock Middle. And the roll. Okay, the winner in lane number 1 is a 77 car, sponsored by the Hurryback Tavern, and driven by 11-year-old Malaya Fullerton. Your next race in lane number 1 is a 007's car, sponsored by the Bond Home Improvement Center, driven by 10-year-old Avery Matthews, a 5th grader at Georges Creek. And in lane number 2 is the 1A car, sponsored by Armstrong Insurance, driven by 10-year-old Hayden Hayslip, a 5th grader at Route 40 Elementary. Please remove yourself from the street so we can commence with racing. At the bottom of the street, that derby car has to be moved. Move it down the street. At the bottom of the hill, that car has to move down the hill there. Thank you so much. Ready at the bottom.
Oh my God, get shit out of it.
The winner in lane number 1 is the 007 car, sponsored by the Bond Home Center Home Improvements, driven by 10-year-old Avery Matthews.
It's just maybe what businesses in town.
Your next race features the number 8 car, sponsored by Snyder & Sons Landscaping, driven by 10-year-old Mariah Hirschberger, a 5th grader at Hyman. And in lane number 2, the 80 car, sponsored by Frog Hollow Maple Syrup, driven by 9-year-old Jacob Fullerton, a 4th grader at Route 40 Elementary School.
We're leaving. I'm hungry. Come on.
The Derby car at the bottom of the hill has to get off the road. We have to get off the road. We're holding up the races regularly now. Please get the cars off the road as quickly as possible. They can still push them down the hill a little bit so we can run a car. On the way. Now. Here they come, very close, very close. We're waiting for a photo finish. The winner in lane number 1 is the 8 car, sponsored by Snyder & Sons Landscaping, driven by 10-year-old Mariah Frostburg. Your next race in lane number 1 is the 69 car, sponsored by Charlie's Motel, driven by 10-year-old Drew Hornaby, an 8th grader at Southern Middle. And in lane number 2, the 43 car, sponsored by Music Express Disc Jockey and Karaoke Service and the Bobby Preston Memorial Fund, driven by 9-year-old Braden Wetzel, a 5th grader at Bell Elementary.
What's happening? Happy American Day.
Happy birthday.
And they're off. The winner in lane number 1, the 69 car, sponsored by Charlie's Motel, driven by 13-year-old Drew Hornaby. Your next race, in lane number 1, the 21 car, sponsored by the West District Elks, driven by 9-year-old Hayden Kamoff, a 5th grader at the Hope of Hyman School. And in lane number 2, the number 5 car, driven by Jenkins, or as you were, sponsored by the Jenkins Collision Center, driven by 8-year-old Kason Waits, a 4th grader at Frankfurt Intermediate School. The Bobby Preston car finishes in 16th place. A brief history of the number 5 car. The number 5 car was driven by the sponsor's father years ago and won by the child's grandmother. The first Derby day ever was won by the driver's grandmother. The winner in lane number 2, the number 5 car, sponsored by Jenkins Collision Center, driven by 8-year-old Kason Waits, whose grandmother was the first ever Frostburg Derby Day winner. The next race features the 911 car, sponsored by the Oakland Elks, in lane number 1, driven by 13-year-old Morgan Emmerich. And in lane number 2, the 61 car, sponsored by the Hen House Restaurant, driven by 11-year-old Jackson Hornabay, a 6th grader at Southern Middle. We ask, please, that spectators remain off the road. Please, spectators remain off the road, including you, Mr. Keith Harper. They're off. We got a photo finish. We'll wait for the results. In lane number 1 is the winner, the 911 car, sponsored by the Oakland Elks and driven by Morgan Emmerich. The next race features the 18 car, driven by 10-year-old Nathaniel Hockman, a 5th grader at Parkside School. And in lane number 2, the 160 car, sponsored by Sowers Funeral Home, driven by 12-year-old Owen Kamoff, 7th grader at Hope for Hyman. And they're on the way. Please make sure you stay off the street. The winner in lane number 1 is the 18 car, driven by 10-year-old Nathaniel Hockman. car. Your next race features the 69 car, sponsored by Charlie's Motel in lane number 1, driven by 13-year-old Drew Hornaby. And in lane number 2, the 11B car, sponsored by Giuseppe's Restaurant, driven by 9-year-old Cassidy Witt. And they're off. The winner in lane number 1, the 69 car, sponsored by Charlie's Motel, driven by 13-year-old Drew Hornaby. All right, your next race includes in lane number 1, the number 5 car, sponsored by Jenkins Collision Center, driven by 8-year-old Kason Waits. And in lane number 2, the 40 car, sponsored by Benson Designs, driven by 12-year-old Mason Rumsberg. Once again, the number 8 car was driven by the driver's father, and the first Derby race was won by the grandmother of the driver. have a winner in lane number 1. The number 5 car sponsored by Jenkins Collision Center, driven by 8-year-old Casey Waits. Next race is the 1A car, sponsored by Armstrong Insurance, driven by 10-year-old Hayden Hayslip. And in lane number 2, you have the 911 car, sponsored by the Oakland Elks, driven by 13-year-old Morgan Emmerich. And they're off. The loser of this next race finishes in 10th place. The loser of this next race finishes in 10th place. And they're off. The winner in lane number 1 is the 1A car sponsored by Armstrong Insurance, driven by Hayden Hayslip. And in 10th place finishes the 911 car sponsored by Oakland Elks, driven by Morgan Emmerich. It finishes in 10th place. Okay, your next race features the 80 car, sponsored by Frog Hollow Maple Syrup, driven by 9-year-old Jacob Fort in a 4th grade at Route 40 school in lane 1. And then lane 2 is the 18 car, driven by 10-year-old Nathaniel Hockman, a 5th grader at Parkside School. The loser of this race places in 9th place. 9th place for the loser. The winner advances. And they're off. And thankfully the winner is the number 80 car, sponsored by Frog Hollow Maple Syrup, driven by 9-year-old Jacob Fullerton. And the number 18 car finishes in 9th place. The loser of this next race gets 8th place, and the winner advances. Your next race includes the car number 69 in lane number 1, sponsored by Charlie's Motel, driven by 13-year-old Drew Hornabay. And in lane number 2, the number 5 car, sponsored by Jenkins Collision Center, driven by 8-year-old Kason Waits. That's your next race. And they're off. The loser of this race finishes in 8th place, and the winner advances. We're waiting for the results. This is a photo finish. The winner in lane number 2, the number 5 car, sponsored by Jenkins Collision Center, driven by 8-year-old Kason Waits. And then 8th place finishes the 69 car, sponsored by Charlie's Motel, driven by Drew Hornabay. Your next race features the number 1A car, sponsored by Armstrong Insurance, driven by 10-year-old Hayden Hayslip. And in lane number 2 features the 80 car, sponsored by Frog Hollow Maple Syrup, driven by 9-year-old Jacob Fullerton. And they're off. The loser will finish in 7th place, and the winner will advance. Another photo finish. We will wait for the results. The winner in lane number 2, the 80 car, sponsored by Frog Hollow Maple Syrup and driven by Jacob Fuller. And in 7th place finishes the 1A car, sponsored by Armstrong Insurance, driven by Hayden Hayslip, finishes in 7th place. The next race features in lane number 1 the 88 car, sponsored by Kenny Signs Incorporated, driven by 11-year-old Brayley Lowe. And in lane 2, the 77 car, sponsored by the Hurryback Tavern, driven by 11-year-old Malaya Fullerton. Neither of these racers have lost a race yet. Neither of them has been defeated in the double elimination. The loser will have its first loss, and both cars advance. And they're off. The winner in lane number 1 is the 88 car, sponsored by Kenny Signs Incorporated, driven by 11-year-old Brayley Lowe. Both cars advance to the next races. Your next race features the number 8 car, sponsored by Snyder & Sons Landscaping, driven by 10-year-old Mariah Hirschberger, a 5th grader at Hyman School. And in lane number 2 is the 007 car, sponsored by the Bonds Home Improvement, driven by 10-year-old Avery Matthews, a 5th grader at Georges Creek. And they're off. We are definitely waiting on the video for this one. The winner in lane number 2, the 007 car, sponsored by the Bond Home Center and Home Improvement, and driven by 10-year-old A.B. Matthews. Both cars advance.
Hold on, buddy. Mommy's gonna take a picture of this chair.
Your next race for 6th place, and the winner will advance, is in lane number 1 is the 8 car sponsored by Snyder and Sons Landscaping, driven by 10-year-old Mariah Hirschberger. And in lane number 2 is the number 5 car sponsored by Jenkins Collision Center and driven by Kason Waits. And they're off. Oh, we got a really close one. The winner in lane number 1 is the number 8 car sponsored by Snyder and Sons Landscaping, driven by 10-year-old Mariah Hirschberger. And finishing in 6th place is the number 5 car sponsored by Jenkins Collision Center, driven by 8-year-old Kason Waits, the grandson of the first winner of the Frostburg Derby. The next race features the number 77 car, sponsored by the Hurryback Tavern, driven by 11-year-old Malaya Fullerton. And in lane 2, the 80 car, sponsored by Frog Hollow Maple Syrup, driven by 9-year-old Jacob Fullerton. And they're off. The winner in lane number 2, the 80 car, sponsored by Frog Hollow Maple Syrup, driven by 9-year-old Jacob Fullerton. And finishing in 5th place would be the 77 car, sponsored by the Hurryback Tavern, driven by 11-year-old Malaya Fullerton. The next race features in lane number 1 the 88 car, sponsored by Kenny Signs Incorporated, driven by 11-year-old Brayley Lowe's. And in lane number 2, the 007 car, sponsored by the Bond Home Improvement, driven by 10-year-old Avery Matthews. And they're off. The winner in lane number 1, the 88 car, sponsored by Kenny Signs Incorporated, driven by 11-year-old Brayley Lowe, and guaranteed a position in the final race. Okay, your next race features a number 8 car, sponsored by Snyder and Sons Landscaping, driven by 10-year-old Mariah Hirschberger in lane 1. And in lane 2, the 80 car, sponsored by Frostburg Hollow, as you were, Frog Hollow Maple Syrup, driven by 9-year-old Jacob Fullerton. The loser of this race finishes in 4th place.
We got old boys sitting here being dry all the damn time.
And they're off. The loser of this game, or this race, once again finishes in 4th place. This one's really close. We'll wait for the results. As they review the video, the winner in lane number 2, the 80 car, driven by Jacob Fullerton, sponsored by the Frog Hollow Maple Syrup. And finishing in 4th place, Mariah Hirschberger, 10-year-old, driving the 8 car, sponsored by Snyder and Sons Landscaping. Okay, your next race in lane 1 features the 80 car from Frog Hollow Maple Syrup, driven by 9-year-old Jacob Fullerton. And in lane 2 is the 007 car, sponsored by the Bond Home Center, driven by 10-year-old Avery Matthews. That is your next race. The loser is in 3rd place, the winner advances. And they're off. This one's really close. The winner in lane number 2, the 007 car, sponsored by the Bond Home Center, driven by 10-year-old Avery Matthews. And finishing in 3rd place, the 80 car, sponsored by Frog Hollow Maple Syrup, driven by 9-year-old Jacob Fullerton. Okay, I will tell you the status of the next race. It includes the Bond Home Center 007 car, driven by 10-year-old Avery Matthews. It features the 88 car, Kenny Signs, driven by 11-year-old Briley Lowe. The Bond Home Center must defeat the 88 car twice to win. If the 88 car wins this race, they become the winner of the 2018 Elks Derby Day event.
And kisses. Yeah, wait, I gotta get a drink. If I need one or not. It's been a good day, John Hill. How about for you? I said it's been a good day for me. How about for you? Exactly, that is a cool spot. I'm sure it'll be a early night. Okay, sweetheart.
Happy America Day.
Hey, your next race features the 007 cars, sponsored by the Bond Home Center, driven by 10-year-old Avery Matthews. And in lane number 2, the 88 car, sponsored by Kenny Signs Incorporated, driven by 11-year-old Briley Lowe. The Bond Home Center must win this race to advance. If the Kenny Signs car wins, the evening is done. We need the trucks and the people at the bottom to move so we can run this race. And they're off. This could be our final race. And here they come. And it's neck and neck. Here it comes, here it comes. Here it comes. The 007 car won. We will hold another race for all the marbles. The 007 car is sponsored by the Bond Home Center, driven by 10-year-old Avery Matthews, has even the keel. We will run a second race to determine the final winner. There's Miss Deidre Waits, the winner of the first Frostburg Elks Derby Day. Deidre Waits. Before we get too far, we'd like to thank the Cub Scout Pack 24 from the Frostburg American Legion for assisting with the cleanup. They went around and picked up all your garbage that you failed to put into the trash receptacles. Also, special thanks to the Mountain Amateur Radio Club for their assistance today. Without them, I would be unable to communicate. Okay, the last and final race that will determine first and second place in lane number 1, the 88 car, sponsored by Kenny Signs Incorporated, driven by 11-year-old Riley Lowe. And in lane number 2, the 007 car, sponsored by the Bond Home Center, driven by 10-year-old Avery Matthews. This is the last and final race of the day. The winner gets first place, the loser second. We ask that you please remain here and witness the trophy ceremony immediately following. And they're off. This is the last race of the 2018 Elks Derby Day. Winner, the 007 car, sponsored by the Bond Home Center, driven by 10-year-old Avery Matthews. Please stand by for the trophy ceremony.
Jeff, you guys had a good seat, huh? It was nice. It was beautiful. Yes. Yeah. All that 8 months of Spanish I studied.
Somebody tell us
Sucked.
it's blind, so we know.
Didn't work. That little girl we had, she spoke 6 languages. She said there's 5 different dialects in Spain, and she said that isn't one of them. Ray Short. Well, this little girl, Irina. 30-some years old. That girl. Hey, Mike, I tell you what, 30-some years younger. I'd still been there.
Two. Check 1, 2. Check. Yo. Yeah. While we're waiting here a few minutes, and I'm visiting here with Deidre Waits, I'd like to talk to you about, this is the first winner of Derby Day. What do you think?
I'm happy.
Would you like to see, what are your thoughts about your grandson participating today?
I'm happy. I'm proud of him. Just coming down that hill is exciting. You know, all these kids. You know, it takes a lot to go down that hill.
You did it on the first one ever held, and were the winner, and was the winner, that is. Is the excitement as fulfilling watching your grandson participate?
Even better, yep. I wanted the very first one, and then my son got third place, and that was even better, but this is better. My grandson.
So your son participated, you won the first one, your son participated years later and took third place, and then your grandson participated this evening?
Yes.
And took sixth place.
Sixth place, and I'm happy as ever.
I'm sure you're a proud mother and a grandmother, and we thank you for coming today.
Thank you.
Can you guys dry this water up before they come down? Let's go. On the street sweeper.
All right, the parade of winners has begun. They are coming down the hill in the order of 10th through 1st. Tenth place. Check 1, 2. Mr. Flanagan, would you like to say something? Mayor Bob Flanagan.
Hey guys, how we doing? Made it through another one, right? On schedule. I'd like to congratulate all the drivers for driving today, all the businesses that are involved. It says a lot for Frostburg that we have so much support for our children, for events in the downtown. So I thank you all that were involved. I know it's a long day and a lot of preparation. Thank you to the Elks for another great event in our downtown. And thank you to you all and all your fellow drivers, because I know you, probably for some of you, it was the first time you ever got to drive. You're probably scared, but you didn't show it. You looked really good, okay? So congratulations, everybody. Thank you.
Okay, the 10th place trophy, we're going to award trophies now. The 10th place trophy goes to the Oakland Elks car. The Oakland Elks car driven by, I'm going to have to search here. Morgan Emmerich, stand up. Get your picture. Walk to the mayor. The number 10th place. Ninth place goes to the Zen Sheet car driven by Nathan Huckman. Okay, the 8th place trophy goes to Charlie's Motel. Charlie's Motel car driven by, I'm searching, Drew Hortebay. The 7th place trophy goes to the Armstrong Insurance car driven by Hayden Hessler. The 6th place trophy goes to the Jenkins car, driven by Payson Waits, grandson of the first winner of the Frostburg Derby, Pedro Waits.
Tell Joe here that you sold tickets there.
Where is Deidre? Deidre, can you get in this picture also? Can I get one with Deidre in it also? Deidre's the first winner of number 1, the first Derby Day race. And thank you to Jenkins for supporting her efforts. Okay, the 5th place winner goes to the Hurryback Malia Fullerton. And the 4th place trophy goes to Snyder and Sons, Mariah Hirschberger. And the 3rd place trophy goes to the Frog Hollow cars, driven by Jacob Fullerton. And the 2nd place winner goes to the Kenny Signs car, driven by Briley Lowe. And the winner of the 2018 Frostburg Elks Derby Day goes to the Bond Home Center, Avery Matthews. Trophy's near as big as she is. You need that, Brad? One more picture, please. Now stand fast, we have to move 3 cars for the next picture. Somebody stand